Okay, so we will start this video from where we left last time, which was the aim of the government and its macroeconomic aim. So, one of the aims of the government and a major aim is the control of inflation. So, in this picture, this is the Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair, and he is being grilled about a slight rise in inflation, which took place during his tenure in office. And why is he being grilled that way? Because yes, unemployment is an objective of the firm, reducing unemployment, increasing trade, but the cardinal objective, the cardinal test of a government is that whether it can take the economy into a boom while keeping inflation in check. Okay, so please do keep that in mind. Now in this graph also, if you check, inflation was pretty much in control till around 2004 2005, but 2004 onward it started rising, and then in 2007 there was a steep rise. So that is why. And this picture that I showed you, the prime minister, this was 2007, toward the end of his tenure, and that's why he's being grilled. Why is inflation rising? Though the increase in inflation was not substantial, it increased later on in 2008 2009 because of economic conditions, but nonetheless the trend was worrying, and the government is answerable if inflation is rising. So please do keep in mind the growth objective is very much there. But let's say the growth in the economy is 10% and the inflation in the economy is 7%. Inflation is the growth killer. Net growth in the economy is only 3%. Okay, the increase in inflation is going to kill the purchasing power, and it's going to um, um, uh, kill the growth. Okay, but nonetheless, if the growth is 10% and inflation is 7%, there's a 3% positive growth, and that's a good thing. But let's say that growth increases, and growth is 10%. Economic growth is 10%, but because of that increase in aggregate demand, inflation rises, the demand pull inflation rises above 10%. Let's say inflation rises to 15% and growth is 10%, then 5% is negative growth. This situation is called overheating. The economy is overheating, and it's just like I've explained overheating in another video as well. It's just like the an overheated engine of a car. If you don't apply the brakes when the engine is overheating, there's no point in running the car fast. It is going to break down sooner or later. So that is where the government applies policy to reduce the um, growth so that inflation can come under control. There's also external stability, okay, and that is related to international trade. The balance of payment position of the country is also the responsibility of the government. Has to ensure that the if possible the exports should remain higher than the imports. In other words, there should be a trade surplus, or at least the trade deficit should be um, uh, at an acceptable level. And that is a major macroeconomic policy objective of the government. Now, if you look at Pakistan's situation, for example, so this is the trend from 2017 to 2019. Look at the situation. The imports really went up. All right, the imports really went up in 2017. And look at the trade deficit. The deficit was very high in 2017, started coming down, but still the deficit is high. The exports are less, and the imports are way more than the um, exports. Though the situation is showing a positive trend, but nonetheless, this is something that needs to be corrected. Now, there are two types of tools which I told you about, which correct imbalances in the economy. The first are the non discretionary tools, also known as automatic stabilizers. They reduce the fluctuations in the business cycle. Okay, But these automatic stabilizers are built in, they're already there in the system. And one very important stabilizer is the progressive taxation system. So what does the progressive taxation do? Progressive taxation simply means that as incomes rise, people will be thrown into higher tax brackets. What does that mean? If the income goes up, people are going to demand more goods. Okay, that is going to lead to demand pull inflation. But if simultaneously as the incomes go up, people start paying more taxes, then their disposable incomes will fall and the aggregate demand will increase, but not by that much, and the inflation will remain in check. As I said, inflation is a very important uh, element in the policy of the government, and the government has to keep inflation in check. So here is just an example of how automatic stabilizers help to stabilize the economy. Let's say that the initial in the base year, as we know that in the base year we always take RPI to be 100. Okay, and from there we calculate the inflation for the year, and then the inflation for the year, the RPI rises to 150, which means there's 50% inflation. Now, correcting for inflation. Now, if the incomes have gone up, okay, we need to now see the real income. As I already said, in economics, disposable means you take the amount, you minus the tax. Whatever you get, that's your disposable. Disposable means minus tax. When you minus inflation, when you remove inflation from a figure, the figure that you get is called a real figure. Whatever you get is real. Real means minus inflation, adjusted for inflation. Let's use that word, adjusted for inflation. Disposable means adjusted for tax. So you get your nominal income, you minus the tax, what is left is your disposable. And when you get a certain amount, you adjust it for inflation, that is called the real income. Okay, so nominal income adjusted for inflation gives you the real income. Now, what is the real situation? How do you take out the real? It's very simple. Okay, it's going to be the base year, the base year RPI, and the 2001 RPI in the numerator, and the base year RPI in the denominator. It's 1.5. This 1.5 that you get is known as GDP deflator. Okay, and you simply take the GDP or the income or whatever, and you take the income divided by this deflator, not minus, divided by the deflator, and you will get the real income. We'll do an example of this and we will see what's happening. Now, if you look at this table, okay, I will what I'll do is I'll increase the, once again I'm going to, okay, look at this table. Okay, the look at the first table. Okay, in the first table, what are the tax brackets? If you are earning 0 to 10,000, 9,999, you're not paying any taxes. Now let's say that in this situation your income is 8,000. So what is your disposable income? 8,000. And because this is year one, then there's no inflation, no correcting for inflation. Okay, look at the income group B. For the income group B, there is the tax band. The tax band then becomes 10,000 to 14,999. Now, if you fall in this tax bracket, you're going to pay a tax of 10%. So if you're earning 10,000, you're paying 1,000 in tax. And what is your disposable income? 9,000. Look at the third group. That's the third band is 15,000 to 19,999. So if you are earning this income, let's say you are earning 15,000, so to keep things simple, you're earning 15,000. Now you're in this band. So you are going to pay a tax of 2,250, and your disposable income is going to be 12,750. All right. Now look at the situation in the next year, 2001. What has happened in 2001? Please do keep in mind, the thing that has happened is inflation has taken place. That is important to realize. Inflation has taken place. What is the inflation? 50%. So You need to deflate, you need to adjust the income for inflation. So how will you do that? In the numerator, keep 150, which is the index for 2001, divided by 100, and you will get 1.5. That is the GDP deflator. I'm just going to take this group B as the example, okay? Or let's take group A for the example, okay? This is now group A, okay? Here we have called it group A, and here we have called it group B, okay? Don't get confused. Just look at the tax band. The tax band is 10,000 to 14,900. It's the same, 10,000 to 14,900. If you are in this tax band, how much tax are you paying? 10%. 10%. Okay. Now, let us say here you are earning an income of, now we are assuming that here the income was 10,000. Here the income has gone up. That's why there's a change in the figures. Okay. But just assume that this income was 12,000 here as well and 12,000 here as well. So what was the tax that you would have paid had your income been 12,000 here? 10% of 12,000. Please don't get confused. We have put 12,000 here because we have to show an increase in nominal income. That is why there's a change in figure. So 10,000, had this been 12,000, 10% of 12,000 would have been 1,200. 1,200. It's exactly the same. Okay, this is exactly the same because income has gone up, but had the income been the same, the tax impact would have been exactly the same. Now assume that this is 10%. Let's assume no income has gone up. So 10,000, and then 10% of that, this would have been 1,000, which is exactly the same. Okay, but correct this for inflation now. Okay, now had this been 10,000, let's say, had this been 10,000, or let's not assume had this been 10,000, just look at this figure, 12,000. Okay, 12,000, had this been 12,000 here, please keep in mind the tax would have been 12,000. The tax would have been 1,200, and the nominal, sorry, the disposable income here, because there is no inflation, would have been 10,000 minus 1,200. But so this would have been exactly the same also after minusing for tax. Okay, but now there is a GDP deflator involved. Okay, now what will you do? You will take this amount which you have already paid, and you will divide it. Okay, this take 10,000, and you are going to divide it by the GDP deflator. Take this, the nominal income. What is the nominal income? It is 10,000. Okay, this was 10,000. This was the nominal income. Okay, minus the tax. So you divide it by the GDP deflator, which is 1.5. So what has happened? Now look at real income, real disposable income. Previously, real disposable income was 9,000. Now, when your income has actually gone up, the real disposable income falls to 7,200. Okay, so that is the thing here. The rule is that if we do not correct for inflation, then the nominal income in the inflation year will be the same as the previous year. But when corrected for inflation, when you divide it by the GDP deflator, it is going to be less than the disposable income in the previous year. Okay, look at this example once more, try to understand and try to solve it yourself and clarify. We will continue with fiscal policy in the next video. Thank you very much indeed.